Happy opening day, everybody. Just wanted to come up here and actually wanted to talk before spring break, but it was pretty busy, and so happy to be here today. And just reflecting on the first half of session, I'm very pleased with the way things are going. I think, as I said before spring break, whatever we're doing, and we don't agree on all the bills, it does feel like that if you're a Missourian, it feels like whatever we're doing here, that we're worrying about Missourians and trying to do things for them, as opposed to some of the things we've seen in the past, which it kind of felt more like we were here for us, and it was all about us and what the drama that was happening here. With the passage of the two bills that we did before spring break, I think that really showed how committed we are to doing things that make life better for Missourians, with the passage of the police bill. And then maybe even more consequentially would be the passage of Senate Bill 4, which I think will help meet the energy needs of Missouri's future. So I was very pleased with that, really happy with the way things are going. I want to say something about Governor Kehoe. I think the way things are going is really a testament to his leadership and just the way that he's been leading from the top, going around and seeing all the members. The fact that we passed those two bills before spring break, I think, really was because of him and his will and his efforts. And the Mike Kehoe that we wanted, the Mike Kehoe that we voted for, is the Mike Kehoe that we're getting, and I think that's great. The Senate has been great to work with. A lot of those guys are friends that I have from when they were over here in the House. I think they're doing a great job in changing the Senate from what it has been in the past 2 or 3 years. And then I really appreciate the Senate leadership. Senator O'Laughlin and Luke Meyer have really been great to work with, and I think they're doing a fantastic job. And then in terms of our House members, I really appreciate the House Republican Conference and the way that we've been working, but I also appreciate getting to know the members on the other side of the aisle, and that's been great, getting to know them and working with Representative Ani, who I think is doing a great job. Over spring break, did have a chance to talk a lot with Representative Ani, and I know she was going through some difficulties, but I think she's doing great. I think the Democrats made the right decision. I did offer Representative Ani we would take her over on the Republican side. She turned that down. I think she said she's good over there, but I think she's a person that really cares about her members. That's really evident to me, and I think we'll have a good working relationship as we go out in the second half of this session. Just going forward after this week, I think there's only 7 weeks left. So next week will be the budget. We'll meet we'll perfect on Tuesday, third read on Thursday, and then I think the budget process this session is going to be a bit more typical, meaning I think there will be a conference process, which caused some consternation last year when we didn't have that. And then I really do appreciate our budget chairman, Dirk Deaton, who I think is working himself to death because he's you heard his voice, and he's been sick, but he's really working through it. And I appreciate that the budget process this year has really been better. Just talking with the Democrats, I think they were much happier with the way things went this year. And I think, again, that is just partly due to the leadership of our budget chairman. And I think you'll see a budget that shows that we're committed to funding all the needs of Missourians, but also something that is fiscally responsible but meets our obligations, and you'll see that next week. I think the budget is a little under $49 billion, which is about $5.8 billion less than the governor's recommendation. It will leave $1.9 billion in the General Revenue Fund, in that fund. In terms of education, we are fully funding all of the 727 provisions, which I'm very happy that we're doing. It has record investments in education, so very happy about that. It makes investments in public safety. raises for police officers or state troopers, and then the Blue Line grant that would help retain and recruit police officers. So really happy about that. And then I think next week I have talked to Chairman Holly Jones, or Chairwoman Holly Jones. At the beginning of session, we stood here and said that we're going to make addressing Amendment 3 our top priority. I referred the bill back on January 22nd, and it's kind of been in committee, but I have asked that it be voted out next week, and we'll move forward with that. So I think what you're seeing here is that the promises that we made in January we're trying to keep. We'll do that next week. We'll work on the budget, and then I think you'll see us transition to some Senate bills. I'd like to do 1 or 2 a week and not have that be a rushed process at the end. I'm optimistic. I think this year will be more productive than the past 2 or 3 years, but we'll just have to see. But I think with the way things have been going, there's reason for optimism. So I'd be happy to talk about any topics that you guys have. And
on the abortion resolution, do you expect that to be on the floor next week?
No, I don't think it can be next week, but I've talked with Floor Leader Alex Riley, and we would like it on the floor the next week. So next week will probably be a lot of budget, but our goal is to have that on the floor the following week.
And then can you address, back before the election, you said we should respect the will of the voters. Now you're signaling we're not going to do that.
No, I think we can do both. I think one thing that we're not going to do, I don't think anything I've seen talks about a repeal of Amendment 3. I think we're trying to address some of the issues of Amendment 3. So I think when we get it out there, I think people can feel confident that, for example, I have not seen anything out there that gets rid of exceptions for rape and incest. That's something that the people spoke on, and I think that's something that all the legislators recognize is something that we have to keep. So I think it's a little bit of both, but there's not going to be a repeal or something that gets rid of exceptions.
Are you expecting changes to the resolution as compared to when it was initially introduced? Because yes, keeping the exceptions, but it removes basically the limit to get abortion beyond that.
I do expect changes. I just talked with Chairwoman Holly Jones. She's going to have some changes of her own, and then afterwards I expect there will still be more refining of the legislation, but with the goal of getting something out that our members can vote on.
Can you give us an example of what changes you're talking about?
Well, I think, as I've always maintained, Amendment 3 it poses some questions that I really think need to be answered. For example, malpractice, anything that has to do with reproductive health care, you can't sanction a health care provider for things like that. That's just one of the things in Amendment 3. Another one would be, what is a health care provider? I think some of those things need to be addressed, and I think you'll see that in the version hopefully on Monday.
What is different in this new version of the Second Amendment Preservation Act that's different from the previous version? And secondly, why are you guys not just waiting to see if Trump's DOJ will actually continue fighting the first version?
Yeah. One of the things that House Republicans really value and really want to tell our constituents is we will always protect our citizens and our constituents' Second Amendment rights. And so we'd rather be proactive about things. And I think the part that was removed from the original SAPA had to do with declaring federal law that conflicts with the Second Amendment as unconstitutional. So we're really being proactive about it. What we're trying to say is Missouri law enforcement should focus on enforcing Missouri laws. And I think Representative Murphy said it out there. I think you'll see some changes in the Senate. So before we get really into the bill, I think we'll have it in the Senate. Let's see what it comes back with. That's what I'm telling our members. As Representative Murphy said, it's not a perfect bill by any means, but when it comes back, I think there'll be some changes, and we'll really discuss it then.
The criticism from Democrats on the school safety bill was that it was too reactive and not proactive enough.
Yeah.
What's your response to that?
I think it's a great bill. If you read the entire bill, there's a lot of things that are proactive about it. So, for example, buildings going forward have to have a lot of the locking mechanism that provides for safety of our students. I think the training is great. All of that really is proactive. I'm not sure what part is not proactive.
Specifically, I guess another question is why wasn't David Tyson Smith's amendment to restrict firearm sales for teenagers, why wasn't that allowed to be debated?
Well, I mean, this is the school safety bill. The amendments that are called upon are the ones that we vote on. I'm not sure about things that are allowed or not. We can only vote on the things that are offered. What I can tell you is there are so many provisions in the bill that I think are very good. One of the things that I'm hearing a lot about from people from Lee Summit is cell phones in schools, and that's in the bill. I think that's an issue because, you know, when kids go to school, I'd rather have them be learning and then be off the phone, because when they come home, they get right on the phone. So having that time where they can learn, not be bullied, focus on learning, I think that's another good part of that bill.
He said he wanted to offer it, but he wasn't being called on.
Well, I think on the floor of the House, we've got 75 bills this week. Everybody has amendments. Not everybody can have their amendments offered, unfortunately, just due to time.
Because the Republican, or because we as a body were afraid to debate the bill. Is that true? Were you afraid to debate the amendment?
I don't think we're afraid to debate out there. I think you saw some pretty good debate today. Very heated on both sides. I get that, but I think most of it was pretty respectful. Again, I think we've had our debate. We can agree to disagree. It's going to go to the Senate. Let's have another debate when it comes back. And I think we will.
On the budget related to education spending, yes, fulfilling all of the obligations for the Senate bill, but still below what the department asked for.
Right.
Talk about that.
Yeah, I think the department asked for, the department's going to get nearly $500 million of general revenue for education, $200 million more. And that increase is the highest increase that we've had since 2005, since this formula. I think my takeaway from the budget is we are providing schools with record funding. Does it meet the definition of fully funding the foundation formula? I think it's been said enough that we're not doing that, but it is record funding. I think part of it has to do with the way that MSIP 6 calculated the high-performing districts, and so the state adequacy target got increased. We know right now that we're working on redoing the foundation formula, and so some of that will have to be reworked, but I'm really confident that we are funding education, and we're funding it at record levels, and we're doing all the things that we said we'd do in 727.
Can you speak more about the delay for House Bill 737, that foster care bill?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that bill went to the Senate. It's come back. The Senate added basically another Senate bill onto it and a couple other provisions. So when you have that, we want to look through it, make sure all of it kind of fits with what we're trying to do. It's Senator Fitzwater's bill, I believe. I think it's a good bill as well. So we'll take a look at that, see what's talk about the new additions, and I think the plan for that would be to go to conference, kind of work out our differences, and then I would like to pass that bill as that was listed as one of our top priorities.
What are your differences? Like, what are the problems that your caucus sees in the Senate version?
I'm not sure that there are problems. There's just so many new provisions. That Senate Bill 43 is a long bill, so we want to make sure each one of them is something that's agreed upon by the House, and so we'll go to conference and see. It may be that we just agree on the whole thing, but I think with it having changed, adding so many pages, we want to take a look at it together.
It's a projected smaller budget than in years past. How do you reconcile kind of a smaller budget with all of the tax cut proposals that you're, like, if it's going to be smaller revenue, how are you justifying these tax cuts?
Yeah, I think some of the tax cut proposals that we've seen, like the capital gains, I think I think it's a reasonable cut to the revenue. But what we always hope with tax cuts is that will lead to businesses moving in, jobs being created, and that revenue will increase, which is why I think Senate Bill 4 was so important, because we want big companies, big manufacturers to move to places like St. Louis and Kansas City and grow our budget. And so that's what we're trying to do with the tax cuts. And again, I think the budget chairman has been really judicious with taxpayer dollars. There's going to be nearly $2 billion in the surplus fund once it's all said and done after the House passes the budget.
I'd like to circle back to the SAFER bill. Representative Lane Roberts, who spent his career in law enforcement, opposes this bill. And he said it is not the Second Amendment, it's a piece of legislation that has Second Amendment incorporated by word only. And he talked about the bill not backing the blue, unlike what is often talked about by lawmakers. Can you give me your response to some of the comments he had on the floor the other day?
Well, there's nobody in Jefferson City that I respect more than Lane Roberts, and I truly respect his opinion on that. I think he's obviously has some questions about the fines for law enforcement, and I share those too. And again, I'll go back to what Representative Murphy said. Let's take a break. Let's look at the bill. Let's talk with the Senate. I think some of that will be improved when it comes back, and then we can have we can look at it again, see what the Senate changes are. But that's a concern that I share with Representative Roberts. But I think my goal is to advance the legislation and see what comes out of the Senate.
You mentioned opening day. Is there any progress or any update on the talks to keep the Royals here in Missouri?
Yes, I think just the Royals or both, or that's something that we talk about every week. And so our position as the Missouri legislature hasn't changed. It is provide people with tax relief, property tax relief, so that Jackson Countyans have some tax relief. And then I do believe that the people of Jackson County will have to decide, do we want to play a part in helping to fund these assets with the Chiefs and the Royals being having a lease in those stadiums. You have to remember that these are property of the taxpayers, and that the teams are just tenants. I do believe that will need to happen to make any of these deals work, and so I'm just focused on that. I think I hear every day a new site for the Royals Park, so I'm just focused basically on making sure that Jackson Countyans have property tax relief, so that if they're asked, do you want to play a part in helping to fund these stadiums, they can know that their property taxes are being addressed, and they can decide for themselves whether they want to make that investment or not with a tax.
There are so many tax cut proposals out there. In order to balance the budget and, not be able to afford some sort of tax cut proposal, is there a certain direction that you would like to go, whether it be property taxes, or would you rather have the focus be on income tax, capital gains? What was your priority?
Well, House Republicans want all the above, which is why we've passed all the bills that we have.
Can we afford that?
Well, I think we can. I think that's a question of whether the governments and the taxing entities can cut spending, and I think we all believe that there's a part to play in that. That if you told your family, hey, we need to reduce our spending by 5%, that we could all do that, and we should expect that our governments could do that too. We've been very aggressive with our income tax cutting, capital gains tax cutting, property tax cutting, knowing that all of that's probably not going to happen. But if we can get one or two of those things, it would provide tax relief to our citizens. And I think if I had to pick one, I really want to make sure that Jackson Countyans know that we really are trying to address the problems that we have with our taxes. So I think having that elected assessor, that's something that we have to do. And then something along the lines that helps reduce property taxes in Jackson County is what I would like to see happen.
Which state services would you like to cut when we cut all these taxes?
Well, I don't think you necessarily have to do that. I think if you look at the budgets that's going to be passed, I think our budget chairman has really met the needs of Missouri, but still has produced a really fiscally responsible budget, and we'll talk about that next week.
It'll cost more 10 years from next fiscal year.
What's that? Well, the hope being if we can cut taxes and be a state that people want to move into, that we could grow revenue and be a state like Tennessee, Florida, where businesses and people are moving into, and there are cranes when you find in Asheville. That's what I'd like to see.
Are you aware of any sexual predators working in the building?
No, I'm not, and I saw that this morning, and I don't know what that's about.
Have you, is it something that's alarming enough that maybe people should have a meeting and let other people who work in the building know about this?
Yes, it is, and I'm not sure. That just came out this morning, and I think we should maybe Senator Weber can help us. But I can tell you, if I knew of anybody or anything going on, we would follow all the rules and regulations that we have, and make sure that number one, the victim's protected, and that this isn't going on anymore.
Do you feel like the House is doing enough to protect women, both other lawmakers, people who are just in the building, who might be subject to sexual harassment?
I do. I think you can always do more, but as I look at it, one of the things that I've made as a goal of being Speaker of the Missouri House is to make sure that all of our employees have a safe environment to work in. That's one of the three things that I've told our team, and so I really try to go out of our way to make sure that all of the LAs feel welcome. If I see them in the elevator, I make sure to talk with them and get to know them. Try to go around into all the offices and make sure that they know that they're appreciated. And I would hope that if anything was going on that was untoward, that they would let us know, and then we would follow all the rules and regulations that we have. And we actually did the training this week, and I'm very confident for the employees of the House that things are, I think, better than they have been in the past maybe, and that we really make that a priority.
The Speaker Pro Tem has been accused of sexual assault. What kind of message does that send to women, and do you feel comfortable having him serve in a position of leadership here?
Well, I think any of the things that happened in the past have been, people know about that. I know the Speaker Pro Tem very well. The explanation I've been given to anything in the past with regard to that, I'm very satisfied that it was not anything that would require him not to serve, or that someone here would be uncomfortable with. So he's got my full confidence, and I think that happened a long time ago, and I'm not sure that it really affects anything that he's doing here today. I think he's a true gentleman here and in all the time that I've known him.
You don't feel like there are any women in the building who would feel uncomfortable having someone accused of that in a position of leadership?
I haven't, for one, I haven't thought about how that, now that it's been however many years that story came out. I think, it's been, people know about it. I think you have to go by the actions of what people are doing now, and I think all the people that know Representative Perkins know him to be a true gentleman, and that's all I've ever seen.
Representative Amato's adoption bill, looks like he updated his previous version. I got a hearing this week. I think you had data security concerns in the previous version. There were concerns, and I think there still are, about the fiscal note of more than $40 million. I'm just curious, where would that bill be in your list of priorities?
Well, I don't think that bill is going to be passed this year. What I do appreciate is anybody that will come to Jeff City, work for their constituents, file legislation. It did not get glowing reviews on its first passage. I appreciate that instead of giving up, he went back, worked with the writers to come out with something better. My thought would be that given the lateness of this session, that's probably not going anywhere, but I think he could work on it over the summer of the interim and then have it come back. How many times have we seen legislation that passes after 8 or 9 different tries? And I think that's what he's trying to do, and I really appreciate anybody that will do that.
Governor Kehoe wants $40 million more dollars to go towards the World Cup effort. Are you guys on track to provide that?
I think the numbers that I've seen aren't 50 million, but I think they're about 25 million, a little over 25 million, which I think, given the dollars that we have, I think that's a good amount. Perhaps it could be upped a little bit, but I think there's about 25 million for World Cup purposes, including $3 million for increased rail during the event.
Have you received any like new requests from KC 2026 or Arrowhead or anything else?
No, just the request from earlier this year. I mean, I think they can use all of the funding they can get because it's going to be such a massive event. But I think what I've seen in the budget is it's going to be about 25 million so far.
Will that go directly to the nonprofit, or will that be law enforcement and other?
Part of that is law enforcement in there, and I can get you the exact numbers, but some of it goes to promoting tourism, some of it goes to law enforcement, and the breakdown, I can get you the breakdown. And we'll talk about it next week.
All right, let's take one last question.
One last question.
T-bill.
VLTs, yes.
Yes, it's on the calendar. What is your position, and how's the party been talking about it?
My position is I think it's a fine thing. I think people are doing it already. I've seen these things. They're not regulated. If people are doing it, I would rather have them be regulated, taxed, and make sure that kids aren't doing it. So I'm in favor of the bill itself. I think it's a matter of do we have a majority of the people in the chamber that feel the same way? I don't know. And I think actually we're going to work this weekend on talking with members and seeing is this something that people want to support. But the bill is out there, and I would like to see it passed just because as I see these games when I go to Illinois or parts of Missouri, I want to make sure that kids aren't getting in there and doing things that they shouldn't be. So, all right. Thanks, guys. See ya. Happy opening day.